So when we're doing domain, we have left and right we're going to cover. But which one should we write down first? I bet you Beyonce knows.
To the left, to the left, to the left, to the left.
And so I know it's a bit silly, maybe it'll help you to remember. When we're doing domain, we're always going to start to the left. So with domain, we're going to start from the left and see how far to the left does our graph go, and then to the right. And if we're doing an inequality and we want to make it simple, we put the inequality this way, and our arrows will always face to the left. Sometimes when we're including a number, we'll have an equal sign. So in algebra, when we did a basic inequality, we learned that when the graph looks like this, we have greater than or less than. But when you're touching the spot, the solid dot, or with part of the line, you have the equal sign that goes with it. So we'll try to mention that as we go. So let's think of this graph here. If we use a little ruler, or even something like a string, maybe I'll use a toothpick, we can ask ourselves, going left and right, where does this graph stop going to the left? Well, going to the left, it stops right here. It stops at 1. Going to the right, this arrow means we're going to keep going forever up and to the right. So it'll keep going to the right infinity. So we have our x, and we'll put our inequalities. Now we're including the 1 because it's touching that spot. So we put an equal. We could never equal infinity, so with negative and positive infinity, we never put an equal. If infinity is going to the left, we call that negative infinity. If infinity is going to the right, because negative numbers are going left, then we call it positive infinity. So that's why we did positive infinity. Now let's talk about range. A range doesn't go left and right. It has to do with the y-axis, or up and down. So which way do we go first?
Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. Stop.
So again, a little silly, but maybe you'll think of Drake. We start at the bottom. We go and see how much to the bottom we go, and then how much to the top. So with our range, we'll have most to the bottom, and then the most up top, or the lowest number and the highest number. So let's check it out with our toothpick. Here's the middle of my graph. How much down does it go? Well, it stops here, where y is 1. So if we hold it this way going through the y-axis, we can see the lowest it goes is 1. So we'll write that down. 1. And then the highest it goes, it's going to keep going up and to the right, but up. So infinity. We'll point our arrows to the left, and we're including 1, it touched 1. So y is greater than or equal to 1, or y is less than infinity. Those of you doing the notation using either a bracket or a parentheses, it would look like this, from 1 to infinity. So let's continue and do some more practice. What if we got rid of one of the axes at a time when we did this? Maybe some of you will understand it a little bit better. Let's draw another graph. So let's look at our domain first. Our domain goes from the left to the right. So let's get rid of the axis going up and down. Let's get rid of this. And for a second, let's redraw that graph. It would look like this. It would be somewhere up here and then going up. So let's just think of left and right now. The most to the left we go is here at -1. So over here, the most to the left is at -1. But our dot is open. So we're not going to put an equal sign in our inequality. What about to the right? Well, to the most, it keeps going forever to the right. So to the right, from here, it goes forever. I encourage my students to draw the arrow further to remind yourself that's going to keep going. Don't forget. So it's going to go to the right infinity. Now this time we have an open dot, meaning we're not using that number. So we're going to not put an equal sign. No equal sign means no closed dot, but an open dot. Now what if we look at just going up and down? That's what our range is. So I'm going to draw the graph. And our graph would look something like this. And so when we're looking at range, we don't care about left and right. We just want to talk about going down and up. Right? We can see that now. So again, like Drake was saying, we go and start from the bottom. So starting at the bottom, it goes down forever. So our range is going to be from -infinity or down forever, and then the most to the top. Now don't be fooled and stop here, because it actually goes up here. 1, 2, 3. Up here. 1, 2, 3. Now technically it should be a little bit better drawn, but the highest it goes is 3. So we go from -infinity to 3. We can draw our arrows. And infinity never has an equal sign. And the 3 is being touched here. So we put an equal sign. So if we look at it one at a time, going left and right or going up and down, hopefully domain will start to make a little bit more sense. If we wanted to do interval notation, which some of you are doing, it would actually follow the same idea. From -1, no equal sign is a parentheses, and then infinity, infinity, and 3 will be an equal, it equals 3, it will have a bracket. So interval notation is kind of set up the same way. Most to the left, to the right for domain, lowest one to the highest one. Let's try another one. So the beautiful thing about videos is you can pause it. But with our domain, you can try it out and see if you got it right. We're going to go which way first? Beyonce said to the left, and then to the right. So if we use our trusty toothpick, to the leftmost is right there, -1. To the right, we want to remember, these keep going. So infinity. We're touching the -1, so we put an equal sign. For range, we now talk about going from the bottom. You can start in the middle of your graph, and this keeps going down infinitely, so negative infinity. It also keeps going up infinitely. And infinity never has the equal sign. That's the basics for domain and range.